stopping by my channel. It's that Sunday school girl, Miss Waynell, and I'm so happy to spend the next few minutes with some of my favorite people. I am basically like your super cool auntie who just happens to teach Sunday school, and I'm here to get you ready for this Sunday, March 15th. We're going to be talking about consequences of injustice. I know that many of you were on spring break this week. I hope that you did something fun, and a lot of you are either getting an extended spring break or maybe your schools are doing something different because of the coronavirus and you're not going to be able to return to your classrooms. But here's what I want you to know. I do not want you to worry about what's going on. God is in control. God takes care of us. He is taking care of his people, and we just need to do our parts. I need for you to do your part. I need you to be responsible. Listen to the adults who are around you. Trust what they're doing. And your part is to pray and to wash your hands. I mean, like soap and warm water, and sing the whole happy birthday song. Wash your hands. And God is going to help us. In our Sunday school lesson this week, we're looking at Habakkuk chapter 2. We studied Habakkuk last week, so you heard about him. If you missed last week's lesson, you should go back and check it out. But in chapter 2, it tells us the just shall live by our faith. So we're not going to live by panicking. We're going to live by faith. Continuing on in chapter 2, we're talking about consequences this week. And we are familiar with consequences. Consequences are the results of actions that we take or decisions that we make. And they can be good or they can be bad. I was thinking about this experiment this week. So let's say that I have decided that I want to turn my water, this is plain water, and I want my water to be orange. Well, good choices to make orange are red. So I put some red in, and I can stir that around, stir, stir, stir. And I know that I need to put a little yellow in. And when I put the yellow in, if I stir, 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 and I probably could have done that the other way around, but as you see, it probably still looks a little bit red, but it's turned orange on my side. If I pour this on a napkin, it's orange. There we go. It looks a little more orange now. But I've turned this water orange because I know that red and yellow make orange. I don't know if you can see that, but it's orange. But if I make a bad decision and decide to add blue to it, well, all of a sudden, it turns my colors dark. And my orange is gone, my red is gone, and no matter what I do, because I made a bad decision to put blue in my water, the consequences are I never get back what I had before. Our consequences we face every day. We always have choices that we make, and God wants us to make really good choices. We usually don't think about our choices in the ways that we should until we face those consequences and we kind of go, uh-oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. In our lesson this week, remember last week, Habakkuk was concerned about what he saw around him. He says, God, how long are you going to let this go on? You know, there are bad things happening. People are not doing their part. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. How long are you going to let me cry and you don't respond to me? And God responds to Habakkuk and he says to him, I have a plan. Now, it's going to blow your mind, but I'm going to use the Babylonians, and they are going to come in, and the Babylonians were terrible people. They came in and conquered and took over nations, and they destroyed everything in their path. Well, at the end, Habakkuk says, well, that's not a great idea, God. That wasn't really what I had in mind. So he was concerned about the plan that God had. And in chapter 2, God is explaining to him how this is going to work. Habakkuk decides that he is going to pray. He puts himself in a position, he gets away from everything and everybody, and he decides to pray. When you need to talk to God, it is great for you to get in a place where you don't have any distractions and you can talk to God and God can talk to you. So he talked to God and God talked back to him. And here's what God explained to him. He didn't want Habakkuk to worry at all that he didn't know what he was doing. So think about that. God knows what he's doing. He doesn't need our help. And he explains to him, I know exactly who the Babylonians are. I know that they are not good people. As a matter of fact, I know that they are proud and arrogant people. They're proud and arrogant. That's not good. That means that they have a really strong sense of who they think they are. They're entitled to everything. As a matter of fact, they are bullies. The Babylonians were terrible. When they would come into lands, they would destroy everything. They would harm the people. They would kill people. They would take everything that they saw in those nations when they conquered them. They were greedy people. It says in the lesson that they were like the grave. They never got enough. They never said this is enough and we're not going to take any more. So they were greedy people. They were also covetous. They would see things that other people had, desire it, and devise plans to take things that didn't belong to them. In other words, they did a lot of stealing. They were thieves. They took property of other people. Why did they do that? Because they really didn't care about other people. They were arrogant and they only cared about themselves. They also did a lot of drinking. In fact, they would drink alcohol until they were absolutely drunk. So they were given to being drunk. They also extorted money. That means that they took money, promising to protect others, and then they wouldn't protect them at all, but they would keep their money. They were slave masters. They basically built their own city using the blood and the labor of people in those nations that they took over. So they shed a lot of blood in those nations. And again, they built their cities on the backs and on the blood of other nations. And you know what? They made fun of people. They were mockers. But you know what God told Habakkuk? Don't worry about that. Because those who have mocked everyone else, the tables are about to turn. The bully is not going to be the bully anymore because the people that they've been picking on, they are going to be the ones that rise up and challenge the bully, and they will ultimately be the ones who will win. Why? Because God would force them to face the consequences of their decisions to be proud, to be bullies, to be greedy, to be covetous, to be drunk, to be slave masters, to take advantage of people. That is all injustice, and God does not like it. God says that ultimately they've done all of this stuff trying to build this big city and protect themselves and have the best of everything, but they would lose it all. And ultimately they have done it for nothing. And even though they were working so hard to have a reputation that people would remember forever, they would be forgotten. And it is the glory of God that will be remembered in the earth. Ultimately, that is what matters, is God's glory. So remember, we all have choices to make. We choose how we act. We choose how we behave. We choose what we say. We choose what we eat. We choose who we'll be friends with. And each one of our choices has a result associated with it. And everything that we decide now impacts something in our future. It's basically the domino effect, just like this. So think about consequences as you make your choices. If you look down below, I have a link to the consequences quiz that I think is a lot of fun. Check it out, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.